Now, the apparent standoff between Police Minister Bheki Cele and National Police Commissioner Khehla Sitole appears to be continuing unabated as the two leaders of the all-important police ministry continue to fight it out in public. In the latest development, Sitole's office released a statement in which he has denied allegations that he plotted with the EFF leader Julius Malema to remove Police Minister Bheki Cele from office. In the statement, Sitole says he has learnt with shock and dismay the allegations made by Cele, further claiming that his name is being tarnished for political reasons. Helping us unpack this issue and, of course, the impact of these developments that are going to be had on policing around the country. We are now joined by Eldred De Klerk, who is a policing expert and a director at the Centre for Security and Intelligence Praxis. Good to see you. Thanks very, very much for being with us this morning.
Good morning, Leanne. Good morning to your viewers. It's an unfortunate morning that we should be discussing this. Just following Sonas, so to say.
Yeah, I mean, it really is. You know, when you sort of constantly are seeing two grown men who are in the very powerful positions having a public spat, and our security is at stake here. This is a very worrying situation, and I'm just speaking as a South African citizen. I want to speak to you as a policing expert. I mean, give us your views. How are you feeling about this?
Oh, you're absolutely right, because this continued spat that's coming on for a number of years, that unfortunately the remedy lies in a political decision to be made by the president concerning his own appointed cabinet minister and his self-appointed, or his appointed national commissioner. That decision resides with the president. Unfortunately, there's been an undue delay, to my mind, in making a decision about the fitness to office around the actual national commissioner. However, these remarks that seemingly was made off script and off cuff by the cabinet minister does harm to the integrity of his deputy, who's also been drawn into this because he's the one who apparently initiated the meeting between the National Commissioner and the leader of the EFF. It does harm to the office of Police Minister, because remember, there's the incumbent, and yet the office and the authority and respect for the office has to long continue after the incumbent is not there anymore. And then it potentially continues to undermine our confidence and faith in such a vital institution as the South African police. The debilitating effect of this throughout the institution cannot be undermined, cannot be understated, and it cannot be underestimated, apologies. Because the members, whether they like it or not, will be affected by this. They will be talking about this, just as you and I are talking about this. And this distracts them from their own safety and the work that they should be doing in terms of working with us to keep us safe and secure.
Yeah, I'm going to apologize to viewers. We've got a terrible beep on the line, and I just want to let viewers know that we are aware of it. We're trying to rectify it. I hope it's okay on your side that and I'm talking to the viewers here because it only appears when you're speaking, but we are very aware of it and we're trying to sort this out. But let's try keep pushing on with the conversation. Hopefully it will rectify. In an ideal situation, I mean, when we look at a relationship, a working relationship between the commissioner and the minister, how important is that relationship?
Well, it goes without saying that there has to be an element of trust. There has to be an element of being collegial and respectful and mutually respectful. And yet there also has to be an understanding of the respective roles that they play. The incumbent or any responsible cabinet minister for the Department of Police has oversight, purview, and authority over not only the South African police but also the civilian secretariat, IPID, and CEDA, which is the private security industries regulator. And he or she is the person who ensures that there's a policy environment that upholds the Constitution and the Bill of Rights, and that each of the people who hold the offices of Director General in these four departments are fit for office, that they're competent, and that they respect and uphold both the policy and the laws of the country. So there needs to be regular conversations. there is need, there's a regular line of reporting, and there's efforts to correct, to guide, and to provide direction. Failing this, if we have a breakdown of relations at that level, what we see then is what we currently have, where a Department of State, namely the South African Police, takes it upon themselves to govern themselves and also to provide their own policy prescripts, and that sometimes undermine those policy prescripts. So we cannot have an institution become a law unto itself simply because it seemingly cannot function or relate to the responsible cabinet minister. And that breakdown of relationships makes sure that there is no governance and there's no public and political oversight and governance of such a vital institution. And that is unsustainable and it cannot continue.
Yeah. Well, let's go back to the beginning of the breakdown in the relationship between the two of them. Where did it all start? What is the beef between the two of them?
Well, it seems to be one of ideology rather than personality. I do want to take the personalities out of this. It's a one of understanding that we had a South African police service that's systematically, for some reason, being undermined and has been eroded, and its effectiveness has effectively diminished over time. Whether this has been part of the broader counter-systemic threat to the country, where we've seen vital institutions of state being effectively undermined and effectively basically hollowed out, and when people within those institutions feel that the rules don't apply to them. This counter-systemic threat is felt in PRASA, it's felt in ESCOM, it's felt in the police service, correctionals, intelligence, and in security environment. This is there, and nobody contests that. So we seem to have an issue of ideology. We seem to have those who says that, and the minister is right, he is the responsible cabinet minister. He is our voice and our representative, duly elected, and he is the one to hold anybody in the Office of National Commissioner publicly and politically accountable for both their performance, their decisions, and the state of the South African Police Service. Where a National Commissioner says, no, I am a law unto myself, whether he says this explicitly or by his actions and decisions, where he doesn't present himself for questions, where he stalls on stuff, or he says the process doesn't apply to him, or he doesn't have to cooperate in any significant way, whether it's with IPID or with Parliament. This does cause a rift. And what we've seen to have is that these two individuals don't seem to be able to find each other when it comes to holding the National Commissioner politically and publicly accountable for the state of policing in the country.
Yeah. I mean, there's so much controversy surrounding. I mean, let's just take Khehla Sitole for one instance. I mean, inquiries into his fitness to hold office already having been found that, in a bad light by courts before. Now we see the July unrest, the findings that come out in there, and there has been blatant findings that there was absolute no reaction or very little reaction, and it was a failed reaction from the police when it comes to this. So obviously it is the president's prerogative as to whether or not the police commissioner should stay or he should be fired. But if we look to trying to get accountability for, let's just take the July unrest into account now, where does the blame lie? Should we see both moving out of office, Cele and Sitole? Is it just Sitole that should go? Or is it just, we've been told that a lot is going to happen and we must just be patient in the next coming weeks or days. We should see something happening. But I'm not sure we have much more patience to hold on to.
Indeed, and unless we get told timelessly what is likely to happen, we will continue to question this. Unfortunately, the issue of who's to blame, so to speak, is one of a system failure. It's a failure in strategic direction. It's a systemic failure, and it's also a structural failure because the South African Police needs to find itself as part of a broader national security strategy and national security architecture. How it cooperates, works with, and actually plans and organizes with state security, with the intelligence community, with the public and the judiciary to ensure that we as South African citizens are safe and that our national security interests are actually prioritized and realized, we have a complete absence of strategic direction within the South African police. And the South African Police Service seems to have no doctrine, nothing that guides them. The myopic, misguided, crime combating stance that they've taken has failed us, and it's actually failing them as an institution, and it erodes public confidence within them. So we cannot say, let's just replace the National Commission tomorrow. We should be thinking about that office, and we should be thinking about the competence of the individual who holds office. And this is a recommendation from the National Development Plan 2030. It's a recommendation from the panel of experts. It's a recommendation from every other single expert panel that there's been, that we look at the office, look at the competencies, the integrity, and the skills audit for such a position, that we ensure that there's a job description and a performance agreement with a 5-year contract, and that we can hold said person accountable. What we fail to understand, to my mind, because we have a panic about replacing people, is that the South African Police Service is a hierarchical organization. It has provincial commissioners, and it also has a position of station commissioner. It's the station commissioner at the ground that should engender the biggest, or the greatest level of confidence in the South African Police Service, because he or she is the person that we engage with daily. He or she gives direction and guidance, support and protection to the members, and needs to ensure that they have the consensus and the confidence of people at a local level. This is where policing matters. It doesn't really matter who the National Commission is. Keep thinking that. That's almost a figurehead position. It's an executive that accounts for the budget of the South African Police Service, the overall performance of the South African Police Service, but it's not the person who knows the most about policing and gives and actually shows that policing happens as what he or she is responsible for. And sure, they should be fit, and sure, they should be competent, and sure that they should be able to navigate the political environment in which they work in, because that's a political office. That skill set is something that we need to ensure. However, we also need to ensure that the person that we appoint at the end, going forward, can fulfill what the President has said. We need to strengthen governance over our public institutions, and that means you and I should have a greater say in decisions that affect our lives when it comes to our safety and security. The Minister has said that we need to move away from, or revisit and reposition and reframe ourselves to revisit safety and security, because we've fallen back from that. We've gone to policing and law and order, and to an aggressive style of policing that is not fit to realize the constitution we have. And then thirdly, we need an incumbent in all our public institutions that understand the political economy in which we work and the developmental imperatives of the country. That is making sure that the poorest of the poor gets the services that they need, and that everybody feels safe and secure and understands issues of vulnerability, whether it comes to women, to workers, to the elderly, or to youth and children. So it's not just replacing the next National Commissioner. We need to do something about the office, but we need to follow a publicly spirited process of finding the right and suitable candidates and making sure we provide the President with the best options possible.
And the reality is this has to happen fast, because while we're talking, South Africans are being killed, South Africans are being murdered, South Africans are being raped, South Africans feel completely unsecure in their own homes when they go to a shop, if they walk in a street. It doesn't matter where you go. There is crime. It is in our face every single day, and it has to be one of our biggest issues. And yet we've got to wake up every morning and listen to two men, as I said at the beginning of the interview, fighting and squabbling with one another about issues that should have absolutely nothing to do with us. They need to be doing their job. Whose responsibility is it? Can I now even take the two men away and place the blame on our president and say, how much more do you need to happen? We saw South Africa up in flames in July, and your security was not in place to protect us. Is this not responsibility enough for him to say, goodbye to both of you, I am putting a better man or woman into that job that'll actually work for us? Absolutely. We need the President now to say, I know I've asked you for time,
this is my timeline, and these are the things that I'm contemplating. We don't need to know who he has in mind. We need to know what he has in mind, and he needs to give us a timetable by which such a decision will be made, and that he recognizes and understands the anxiety and frustration of us as ordinary citizens, and that there's a statement that both reassures and at the same time provides us with a very clear idea of his intention going forward. This is all we need from the president now. And then as he applies his mind and he's run out of time and he's run out of tarmac, essentially, because this plane is crashing. If I could use such a horrible analogy. Today is the day that he actually needs to say that he's funding at solar. Maybe that's the platform in which he actually takes us as South Africans into his confidence and makes a very clear and unequivocal statement as to what's going to happen with the state of policing and safety and security in the country.
All right, we've got to leave it there. We've got to say goodbye to our SABC2 viewers. Eldred De Klerk, thanks very much for talking to us. Eldred is a policing expert and a director at the Centre for Security and Intelligence Praxis. And that's where we leave it.